Good morning. It's Cassidy with eXp Realty.
And Bruna with Academy Mortgage once again.
And we're here to talk to you about financially preparing yourself for buying your first house.
Yes, that is very important. Very important topic.
So in our video about buying a house, you talked about the debt to income ratio. Now, what is that?
Perfect. So debt to income ratio is a ratio between your monthly expenses in relation to your income. So we have baselines with every loan program on what is the max debt to income ratio acceptable. Granted, you can have some compensating factors that can bring that up, or other factors that in fact you need to stay even under what that baseline is. So debt to income ratio, one thing that I like to stress is that we take your gross pay, so your pay before any taxes are deducted. So that's what we base our income, the income that we can use on. However, as we know, that is not what we take home. So what we take home is the net income. So one of the things that I like to advise people is to do a monthly budget worksheet based on your average take home income. So what we take into account on our debt to income ratio calculations basically is what is on your credit report, as any installment loans, auto loans. If you have any other properties and mortgages, we have to take that into account, your debt to income ratio. Revolving debt, which would be your credit cards or line of credits, we have to take that into account. Keep in mind, for credit cards, line of credits, we only take the minimum payment against your debt to income ratio. So even if you have a $12,000 debt, we just use what is your minimum required payment for that debt. And then depending on the type of collections, we do have to use a percentage of that. If they're medical collections, they can be disregarded. So those are some of the things that we take into account for your debt to income ratio. The reason why I tell you to prepare a budget is because obviously that's not all of the debts that you have to pay. You have to pay your utilities, your car insurance, childcare, you have grocery expenses, gas expenses. We don't take that into account when we're qualifying you. So that is why, even though you are approved up to a certain amount, based on your gross income, you want to make sure that that's a comfortable house payment and that you are able to cover all of the other expenses you have.
And so, my job gets taken into account on the income side, but is there any other kind of income I can use to qualify?
So if you receive any Social Security benefits, if you are a veteran that receives benefits, pensions, we can use to qualify. Child support, as long as we meet the requirements for that. Alimony. If you have a second job, as long as you've been doing both jobs for 2 years uninterrupted, we can use the income for second jobs. So there are a lot of things that we can take into account, but again, the thing that I like to stress is make sure you know what is your take-home income every month, and that's where you're going to do your budget from.
Where can they find a budget worksheet?
I like to use bankrate.com for a lot of debt to income calculations. They have budget, or if you just go online, it's very simple. Academy.com as well. You can find tools for budgeting.
All right. Well, thank you, Bruna. I appreciate you explaining that to us.
You're welcome.